But you might be asking, why would I take a camera that I dislike so much because of the wider focal length? Today I'll be talking about the Ricoh R1s. I'll give you guys the rundown, share what it's like to shoot, and why I changed my mind on this tiny little camera. Smaller than my iPhone, the Ricoh R1s is easily the most pocketable film camera that I own. Its size is arguably one of the best features of this camera in my opinion. Meant to be used as a fully automatic point and shoot, it does give you a little bit of control with its creative modes, several wide-angle focal lengths, and panoramic settings. The lens is a coated 30mm f3.5 made up of 4 elements and 4 groups. You have the choice to shoot in the standard 2:3 or 1:3 aspect ratio using the 30mm and an additional option for 24mm at 1:3 framing. The 24mm wide selection has a fixed f8 aperture due to the shifting of the rear lens. The panoramic effect is achieved by a selectable mask which engages and covers over a section of your frame, creating a smaller image on your 12x36 negative area. Now, some people have actually modded these shades by jamming the curtains open or removing them completely. Basically, they're trying to have the option for that 24mm lens on a 2x3 image area, but doing this is definitely going to give you darkened corners. Other features include a selectable date code, LCD info panels on the top and the sides of the camera, as well as framing guides on the inside of the viewfinder. I really like how the guidelines change inside the viewfinder when you select the different aspect ratios. This kind of helps visualize the areas and what's going to be in the frame. The flash is selectable with red eye reduction, and everything is powered by one CR2 3-volt battery. If you've shot film for any length of time, you've most likely accidentally opened the door of the camera mid-roll, ruining some of your shots. This Ricoh has you covered though, because it pre-winds all of the film first. This means when you load the camera, it takes all the film out and rolls it up on the other side, so that every time you take a picture, that frame gets pulled back into the canister one frame at a time. If you accidentally open the door mid-roll, any of the shots that you've already taken are safe and good to go. And one of the extra little tricks that I love about this R1 is it has a leader out feature, which basically when you're rewinding the roll, you have the option to stop rewinding the film a couple centimeters before all of the film is pulled back into the canister. So this way, when you open the door up, there's no need to fish the film back out of the canister. When I initially purchased the camera from a seller in Japan, I willingly paid a higher price, hoping to receive a copy that was in better working condition. Both the LCDs and the motor on my copy were good to go, but I did notice a little bit of light leaking on the first roll when I was scanning everything in. But honestly, that's nothing that a little electrical tape can't handle. One recent issue though that I did experience was I noticed that the automatic shade that protects the lens was sticking partially closed after the camera was powered on. After a couple flicks of my finger, this completely fixed it and everything went back to opening and closing properly, but that's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. So initially, I really, if I'm being honest, I didn't like the R1 at all. I purchased it as a carry camera. The size is what drew me in. And after shooting it for a little while, I couldn't gel with the lens. It seemed to be too wide. The way that I visualize images and like to shoot is nice and tight and cropped. I like to eliminate some of the distractions and just kind of pinpoint on what I'm focusing on in the scene. And I feel kind of right at home around 50mm. After shooting with it for a few rolls and not really kind of clicking with it, it got chucked in the drawer full of cameras that I don't use, and it sat there for about 2 years until a few weeks ago when I pulled it out again. My family was heading out for a vacation trip and I wanted to pack totally minimal. But you might be asking, why would I take a camera that I dislike so much because of the wider focal length? Basically because I was shooting it completely wrong. On this trip, I decided to do something different. I wanted to shoot in more of a documentary style and have basically a camera on me at all times that I can just pull out on a whim and snap a photo. When you're trying to capture spur-of-the-moment shots, you've got to be quick. And that means less time fiddling with all the settings, and the automatic exposure on the Ricoh is absolutely excellent. It meters almost perfectly every single time, even at night. Where I did find it kind of struggle a little bit was in the autofocus, and if what you're shooting is moving, it might have a hard time grabbing that focus quickly. And something that I personally like about this camera is that it gives your images a little bit of character. You get some noticing vignetting around the edges. If you want to point this at the sun, you're going to get a little bit of flaring. But again, I'm not looking for surgical precision when I'm shooting this. These imperfections, they really add to the shots in my opinion. Since the R1 is basically a prime lens, it was kind of nice to have the versatility of the different aspect ratios, even if it is kind of like a cheesy 90s gimmick. While I was initially kind of disappointed after buying this camera, once I stopped expecting it to be something it's not, it actually turned out to be a wonderful camera to shoot with. Along with the GR series, these R series cameras, they're nice and stealthy, they're perfect to just slip in your pocket, and they kind of force you to take more of a journalistic approach and capture the wider view. And if I can let go of the need to capture the perfect crop or the perfect framing and just let the picture tell the story, even if that includes a couple other details, I can come away with really excellent images, great snapshots, and just some awesome memories. If you guys have shot with either the R series or the GR series and you have something to add, drop a comment below, let me know. I hope everybody's well, and until the next video, we'll see you.